If you are here, you have taken an active role in bettering your life, no matter what stage of life you are in. The Banyan Treatment Center's podcast will discuss many topics like recovery, addiction, self-help, mental health, and so much more. It will provide you with tools to succeed, ideas for recovering, and how-tos on creating a better life. My name is Alyssa, and today's episode is about staying sober during the holiday season. Today on our panel, we have Jenna Dillulio. Jenna is an addiction and mental health advocate, social media influencer, and motivational speaker. Jenna, thank you so much for joining us today. Why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Well, thank you so much for having me. I've been looking forward to this all week, honestly. So I was like, yeah, I get to partner with Banyan. Like, so excited. So I am officially literally next week, which is crazy. I'll be 5 years sober.
Woohoo!
I know. I am a brand new mama. I just had my little girl 3 months ago. Her name's Ember, and she's so sweet. So I'm so beautiful. Adjusting to mom life. I live in Virginia with just my husband and my baby, and I've been on social media for about 4 years now, loud and proud, sober, and really just trying to do my part to end the stigma surrounding addiction and inspire other women to do the same.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're doing such a great job at it. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about how you got your start in that before we jump into the topic?
Sure. So you're talking, whenever I got sober, it was 2017. And now if you look at social media and you look at podcasts and really anything that's out there, it's so much more, I feel like, openly talked about. It's only been 5 years. Yeah. If you look at the progress that's been made, where it's like there is room and space for people to be open about sobriety, whether it be with drugs or alcohol or any addiction, really. But back then, no one was talking about it. It was every time I went on my social media, there was drinking memes and, drinking jokes and all these things on there. And for me, being in my early 30s, it seemed like there was no one that I could find in the world that didn't drink. I was like, how is anybody having fun not drinking? Ironically, Mike, the situation was the only one that I could find at that time that was not drinking. So around whenever I was 6 months sober, I decided I'm just going to post something on my Facebook, and it was super vague. It was just hey, I want to put this out there. I'm really proud of myself for the past 6 months. And I listed everything that I had focused on in that 6 months, because it wasn't just drinking was 100% the main catapult for everything. But I also quit eating meat and did all these other things. But within the post, the fact that I had gave up alcohol was the one thing that so many people were attracted to. And they were either congratulating me, or they were congratulating somebody else in their life that they knew that had struggled with an alcohol addiction, or they were messaging me and they had questions. And so I saw there was this huge gap at the time. And I thought, what if I just keep talking about this? And so I did from there. And now it's 5 years later, which is crazy.
It's so amazing. You're right too. It's it was the past 5 years, there's definitely been a major shift in destigmatizing addiction and alcoholism. So it's it was the perfect time to jump into that conversation and help catapult destigmatizing these topics, because so many people struggle with addiction and alcoholism in this country, and they were suffering in silence, and they really didn't know where to go. And there's such a need for positive role models.
So true. And I think there are so many sober influencers now. It's I look at it as the more anybody speaks up about their own journey with addiction, or with it be in recovery or getting sober, it's we all do our part to just chip away a little bit at a time at the stigma. It's not one person that's going to end up saving the day. It takes all of us combined as a society to just start breaking that down.
Yeah, absolutely. There's power in the numbers, and there's power in seeing that, okay, I'm not alone. There's actually
Yeah.
so many people that are just like me and they're doing this and they were here and now they're there today. The holiday season can be especially difficult for people in recovery, particularly for those who are in early recovery. Alcoholics are faced with extreme temptations during the holidays due to excessive drinking at social gatherings. One study finds that the average person drinks 4 alcoholic drinks per week, but see that double to 8 per week during the period from Thanksgiving to the New Year. Another study found that some of their participants, 58%, agreed that their family drinks too much at holiday events, and 48% of those admitted to drinking more at a holiday gathering than at any other social event during the year. With so much research supporting the claim that more alcohol is consumed during the holidays, what does that mean for someone in early recovery? How can they cope with the difficulties of staying sober during the holidays and still enjoying their families? What should a family member do to help their loved ones stay sober during this time?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's such a good question, because if you look at American society as a whole, and it's not, there's other societies that where drinking is
Right.
so much more prevalent, but our society is drinking is any celebration. It's like revolved around it. And so it's hard to avoid. It's hard to be like, we'll never go anywhere and never do anything. And that's the only way that you're going to avoid a situation where you have alcohol in it. And that's really hard to do. And it's not good for your mental health. Anyways, have a conversation with someone in your family, and that way you do have a support system. I think that's so important, to have at least one person that knows and that can be there and that can be your sober partner at holiday events, especially if there's going to be a lot of alcohol involved. I was really fortunate. It's weird because my dad was an alcoholic my whole life. And I had to have that conversation with my family that my dad's sober now, but my first holiday season at home, I had to really set a clear boundary. This is a goal that I'm working on. I don't want to drink and I don't want the temptation there. So please don't drink around me. I don't want the alcohol there. And I was really lucky enough. My family totally respected that boundary for me.
What do you think could be some additional triggers during the holiday season?
Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Being around family just in general, it's I have a good 2-day, maybe a day where I'm totally oh, I miss that. And then anybody can get under your skin after, because you spent your whole life with these people. You each know how to get under somebody's skin and what triggers someone, just in even a joking way, but that could be a trigger for somebody. If you don't have the right coping mechanisms yet, and you don't have those coping skills, then it's easy to get super triggered and want to go back and rely on the coping mechanism that you had for so long.
So do you think people in early recovery should potentially avoid celebrating the holidays, or what would you suggest would be a good way to navigate it?
I think it would depend on the person and the situation. I think that if your family situation is super tumultuous and there's arguing, and it's going to be something that you aren't going to find value in, it's not going to bring you up, it's not going to lift your spirits during the holiday season, then I would say it's okay to skip out on 2022 and then think about maybe joining in the next year. But if it's something that you feel you're going to have the support, and you are, you can't avoid triggers altogether, but it could be something that's good for you to work on because you're in a safe environment, you're with family that you feel safe around, then I say definitely visit your family for the holiday season.
So what were some of the things that you did to stay motivated in your recovery during your first holiday season? Did you do anything specific, any tips that you can provide?
I would say number one was set boundaries. Boundaries are so hard. I even know, my gosh, I still struggle with setting boundaries. I just had my first baby, and the boundaries that come with setting with that is I thought I had this boundary thing down, but that was something that it's not to hurt anyone. It's only to benefit yourself to set those solid boundaries. the next thing was to have like a sober support system.
Yes.
I had 3 people that really held me accountable in my early recovery. And that was my mom, my best friend, and my now husband. He was my boyfriend at the time. But I let them know, like, if I text you or I call you and I say, I really want to drink, I need you to tell me no, because I knew I could never trust myself before. Like I was untrustworthy to me. So I needed to rely on other people to help me with that. And not only that, they were like my sober buddies places, right? Like if I was going to a family holiday party, my mom wouldn't drink. My mom is also sober now too. So like my mom wouldn't drink. My mom would be there to support me. If we were around in Virginia where my husband and I were, same thing. He wouldn't drink. We would just be there hanging out that way, because it's inevitable. Someone will be like, hey, do you want a glass of champagne? What can I get you to drink? And I'd say, I just am drinking water. Then it's less uncomfortable because I have somebody else that's drinking water or Diet Coke or a mocktail with me. And the last thing I think that really, like, honestly helped so much, I was actually talking to a friend the other day about this, that she's not even in addiction. She's just in like a toxic relationship that's ending. And I was giving her, like, because you could become addicted to a person, seriously.
Yeah.
And I was giving her these tips. And one thing that helped so much was like, I wrote down and really like recognized alcohol for what it was, instead of romanticizing all of these times that I thought I had with alcohol, where I would be like, how am I going to have fun without alcohol at a holiday party or at a New Year's party or Christmas? Like, how could I have fun without it? I had to realize, like, there were fun times that I had, but there were also like really shitty times that I had with alcohol. And so I took a notebook and I wrote down every time that I could remember that I like got into a fight with a family member, or I said something horrible or did something horrible or hurt someone's feelings or hurt myself, and got myself into these bad situations. That way, when a craving really hit, I could look back to be like, do I really want to be there again? Do I want to be in that situation where I'm, hungover, I'm shaking, I am so nauseous, I'm like vomiting. Do I really want to do that again? And that was helpful to just, I think they call it like, you just like rewind the tape and like look at what has been and call it out really for what it was, and not what you're like romanticizing and thinking like, oh, I'll just have like one spritzer at New Year's, and it's like me passed out on the bathroom floor.
Our brain loves to play tricks on us like that. You remember the good times more so than the bad times.
So true.
I do love what you said, and it actually brings me back to my first sober holiday. And I also had a sober support there. My mom agreed to not drink for that Christmas to support me because I was in super early recovery. And I remember her saying to me the next day, like, I had such an amazing time. She goes, and by the way, everyone's really annoying.
It's so true.
You don't realize how obnoxious everyone is until you're stone cold sober dealing with their drunkenness all night long.
It's so, being the sober one now, it's like you just look around and like, if I have a DD from a wedding or anything, I'm always like, oh my gosh, you guys are going to feel so bad in a couple of hours.
And I mean, you get to enjoy the holiday and you wake up and you don't feel sick the next day. Like, what an amazing feeling, right?
I don't feel like people appreciate enough like morning time. Like morning time is so great. When you wake up refreshed and you just like have a cup of coffee, you get to sit and be relaxed. Like that is so much more enjoyable to me now than like staying up until 3 o'clock in the morning being completely wasted.
Yeah. Absolutely. What would you tell a supportive family member trying to keep their loved one clean and sober during this holiday season? What would you give them as advice?
I think what I would give them is to ask your family member or your friend how they want to be supported, how you can best support them, because they might not want you to like avoid drinking in a social situation. That like pressure on you. I know for me, even now, my close friends, like, gosh, I love them so much. They're so sweet. But like, they'll come visit from other states away and they'll say, we live right next to a winery. And they're like, oh, but we won't drink. And I'm like, guys, come on. Like, it's been 5 years. I'll be
Right.
totally fine if you guys want to like have some drinks. It's fine. So, ask them the way that they want to be supported in any social situation or just for the holiday season overall. And showing love and support. And if it's something that, you have someone that is in the thick of it, if they're really struggling with addiction right now, maybe they're not ready to address their addiction, and maybe they're not ready to take the step to get sober, to enter recovery. I think one of the things that I always recommend is like to get some support for yourself. The best way that you can support someone is getting support for yourself. There's so many groups that you could go. I did Nar-Anon for a while and I loved going to Nar-Anon meetings. I had a family member that was struggling with a drug addiction. There's Al-Anon. There's so many now online support groups that you can enter into as well. And
I love that you bring that up. Like, ask them how they want to be supported, because it's true. You don't want someone to feel like a spotted leopard because you're bringing too much attention to it. Sometimes people don't want the attention. Sometimes they just want to be quietly in the corner with their seltzer and not be asked questions and feel alienated from the situation, because at the end of the day, there are some people that don't understand sobriety. They don't understand the reason of why. So trying to determine what's good for them, what's not good for them, and letting them tell you. And also just checking where you're at, because some people need different things.
Yeah, it's so true.
Do you have any advice for somebody just in early recovery in general, things that you did that really helped you?
I think avoiding anything that's super triggering, and that includes places. Like, there were a lot of places where, my husband, like, he doesn't have an addiction to alcohol, but he just naturally drank more when I was in active addiction, because that was like one of my only hobbies. And there were just watering holes that we would go to, and all we would do is like drink and play pool. And there was nothing, like, it wasn't like they had like great food and I was missing out on anything. Like, those were places that I just steered clear from, because the only thing it would make me want to do is drink. Like, no point in that. And then just being open and honest. If you do have support people that are in your corner that are wanting to support you, like, be open and honest with them. I know for me, like, I remember one of the first times I had like such a really bad trigger. I used to do corporate sales, it's a very stressful job. And I came home from work on a Friday, which that was like the start of my binge for the week. Like, Friday, I would just stop at the grocery store near our apartment. I would grab 2 bottles of wine, 2 packs of cigarettes, and just sit on the back porch by myself. So I was like 2 weeks into not drinking anything. And I got home and I told my husband, I was like, I want to drink. Like, I want to drink right now. And if I wouldn't have said that, like, I totally could have just like snuck out myself and went out and got drunk and then started over again with the relapse process. And because I was honest with him, I gave him an opportunity to really show up and support me. Like, he said, don't move, sit on the couch, I'll be right back. He went and got sushi from my favorite restaurant, and it started this new tradition, because what alcoholism was, it wasn't just the act of me drinking alcohol. Like, there were so many habits that were in place that, like, it would get me like excited to like go to the grocery store. Like, I'd like I'm going to go get the wine, I'm going to go, pick up my cigarettes, going, like, taking the foil off of the bottle, like all of these habits that led up to it. I had to develop new ones, new things to look forward to. And that became it. It was like sushi every Friday night. We'd be on the couch watching TV, spending time together. That was like our new tradition for the week. So it replaced the bad habit that I had.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, getting sober, you have to learn how to redo everything from a sober set of eyes.
Yeah.
Because we associate everything we do with alcohol or using or smoking cigarettes, whatever. I mean, you quit smoking, you realize that you have all this extra time in your day.
Mhm.
And same
Yeah.
thing with drinking. So, I mean, it is true. I love that tip because I think that's a new one that we really haven't talked about a whole lot is like forming new healthy habits and
Mhm.
creating a new system for yourself. What about your holidays this year, especially since you have a new baby? Do you have some fun plans?
Yeah, everybody wants to meet the baby. So we live, we're in Virginia and we're like equal distance away from both of our families. So my husband's family lives in Manhattan and then my family lives in West Virginia. So my brother is having his first baby at the beginning of
Oh,
December. My
nice.
parents went like light years without having any grandchildren because I'm 37 now. So I have my first baby. My brother's having his, and now they went from 0 to 2 in like 3 months. But so we're gonna be spending Christmas with them. It's like the first for both of the girls to meet each other, and we'll be spending Thanksgiving just here in Virginia. So it'll it'll be like I'm so excited. I'm so excited to like put the tree up. I ordered stockings from Etsy. Like I'm just so excited.
Ready to go. Yeah, it's so amazing to experience now another new set of eyes, not a sober set of eyes, but your daughter's eyes to these
Mhm.
experiences.
It's crazy. I know we're talking about holidays, but like I was thinking about it yesterday because I talk about it on my page a lot. Like there's beauty in every single day with my daughter, but there are hard times. Like
Hmm.
it's stressful. I'm learning like this whole new thing, this whole new person. She's learning me, and I can't imagine if I didn't get sober, like
Hmm.
what I would be going back to rely on. Like I would put her probably in positions where it would be super dangerous. I would be like not feeling great as a mother because I'd have headaches, I'd have hangovers, I'd be so much more annoyed more often.
Hmm.
And I just think about, this generational cycle with her is it's broken with her.
Hmm.
And she gets to experience the best of me. And even though I'm still a work in progress, I still work on myself all the time. It's like I have these coping skills that I can now rely back on that really make me the best mother that I can be.
I love that. That was really beautifully said.
Thanks.
And I think it's so amazing. You're so right. It's like if you did drink, who knows how you'd be dealing with these situations. But thank God that you are
Mhm.
the mother that you are today, and that you're able to be sober and you're able to feel the good days and the bad days, to remember
Yeah.
all of it. And she'll
Yeah.
see it growing up. She'll see how much more you're able to give her because you are sober. You're like really truly able to give her all of yourself. So I love that.
Thank you.
So, is there anything else you want to add?
I would just say if this is your first, like if you're newly sober, you're newly into recovery, or if you're like you're into recovery 5 years deep and it's still hard for you,
Mhm.
like you're not alone. Like we are never alone in this process. I think that's really important for people to remember is that there are people like you and I, like we're still going to holiday parties and we're still around alcohol, and you can do it. You
Mhm.
can stay sober. You can still have fun, just like you said. You can still have the most fun. I remember that was my biggest fear in getting sober. I thought I'd never have fun again. I thought the fun had left the building. And I'll tell you, like, my wedding was super small because we got married during COVID, and there was just me and my husband and our parents there. And my parents don't drink, his parents do drink, and he drinks. And when we woke up in the morning and I got to like just like spend time with my parents and we were talking, we were like, we had the most fun, like at my wedding, like the most fun. And I never would have believed that if you told me that like 5.5 years ago. I would have told you you were crazy. There's no way, first of all, I'd be sober on my wedding day. And there's no way I could have fun without alcohol. You can, just like you said with your mom, like it's so much fun and you'll find this joy that almost forgot about, because it's like, we were children at one time, and we had so much fun without alcohol. You can do it. Like, you totally can do it. I believe in you.
Where can people find you? And do you want to talk about any projects you have? I know obviously you just had a baby, so maybe things have slowed down a little bit, but I thought I saw on your Instagram story you were talking about making a YouTube channel. So like, just tell us where you're at and what you're working on.
Yeah. So I'm on Instagram. It's Jenna Dillulio, and I am working on a book chapter right now, actually. So I'm excited about that. And yeah, I've been toying with YouTube, man. I don't know. I've been thinking about it. Like, I think, just for like in general, people, it's fun to just interact with people and laugh, and I would love to do that. So that's on a maybe list. But other than that, yeah, catch me on Instagram.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Jenna. It was a pleasure as always.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it so much. And happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays. Well, we hope you enjoyed today's episode. Remember that growth and recovery are possible, and it can all start today. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Banyan Treatment Centers, and make sure you're subscribing for notifications of new episodes. And please don't forget to leave us a review. If you or someone you know are struggling, call us today at 888-515-7706. Thanks for joining us today on the Banyan Podcast.